Good evening, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to NFR, and specifically, welcome back to SKR. Of course, it's a Sunday evening, and we follow the F1 calendar where possible. So that means tonight we get to do Belgium all over again. Remember, in SKR we just have the one qualifying session, so 18 minutes. Just 18 minutes for everyone to get around. Not a lot of chance to make errors. To get on with it. You've got a full quali, you can mess around a little, go out, try a few runs, try a few different things. But when it comes to the single quali session, you really just got to get on with it. Especially here in Belgium. Extremely long race circuit, takes an awfully long time to get around here. If you've only got it fueled up for the one quick lap, you happen to invalidate it. Takes you an awfully long time to get back to the pits. Now, track very busy. As you can see, 17 runners in the field. Means we should have 17 drivers starting the race. Unless anybody else is able to squeeze in. Good numbers on the night. No lap times just yet. Just one driver remains in the pits. That is Lebby. Everybody else either on an outlap or on their first attempt. This is Virus going up Radion for the first time in a timed lap this evening. One of the two Ferraris. The other one also just started his quick lap. The lap times are going to start coming in very quickly. At the moment, timing sheet unpopulated. That'll all change in about 2 minutes from now. This is Divan in the bright green Salva. The soon to become Audi manufacturer team. In fact, Salva is already fully owned by Audi. They'll only be doing that rebrand in 2026. Lots of drivers now on quick laps. Gonna see that timing sheet go from empty to too quick for me to keep up. Not going to be able to catch all those lap times. But caution flashing up on our screens. A little bit of PTSD for me every time I see the yellow. I think it's a safety car, and then I've got to remind myself, of course it's not a safety car, this is a qualifying session. Caution still flashing. That just means somebody's either going very slowly on track or they are off the track. Lots of times you just got to ignore that yellow flag on your fast lap. Just got to keep on pushing. Sometimes it's just somebody on the other side of the corner going awfully slowly, trying to get out of the way for you. But you slow down because of the yellow flag. Still waiting for lap times from the two Haas drivers. This is Smurf. Should be going around to set that first timed lap of the evening. His teammate stayed in the pits awfully late. He's now come out on an outlap. He's going to be the last driver to set his quick lap. Smurf goes over the line. P10 145.4. As for the guys at the front, Convoy leads the way with the best time so far. Then we've got the pair of Ferraris, Virus and Harsh Cartoon. Stoffel 14, It's Ferrari 15. Times are now coming in very quick. Levy begins his fast lap. Top Gun ends his fast lap. Goes up into P11, 145.3. Still waiting for lap times from Levy and Mr. Rem. Mr. Rem's about to go over the line. Unless the lap's invalidated, we should see a lap time coming up. That may have been an invalidated lap because his battery was discharging, but he did not set a lap time. So easy to go over the white lines here in Belgium. Get yourself an invalidated lap, and like I mentioned earlier, it's a 7-kilometer circuit, longest circuit on the calendar. Takes you a long time to get around here for an out lap, a quick lap, and back in for an in lap. So if you mess up one of those runs, all of a sudden a short qualifying session piles on the pressure. That's why it's so important in these short quali runs to get out there, do your first run, so you can have a little peace of mind. We're currently riding with It's Ferrari in the RB. And I will continue to boycott the V-carb name. To me it's just an RB. It's Top Gun. Successful with his first lap, 45.3. He's going to be heading back into the pits. This is Levy. He said he was going to be the last man to set a lap time. He's not going to be the last man. Mr. Rem will be the last man, but Levy, he left it late, but I think he knew he had something in the pocket. That's why he was so relaxed coming out of the pit. Sets the fastest lap time so far. He can't be too comfortable with that lap time, just a 1/10 of a second ahead of the rest of the field, so he's going to have to come out again and defend that lap. Like I say, time can catch you out here on the Belgium circuit, so you need to get back into the pits. Can't mess around too much, change the tires, get back out there, waste no time. Lots of cars now in the pits. Levy on the way back to the pits. Top Gun out on track. He's got a full battery. I think he's just charging up to have one run, just getting out of the way now for the Sauber. I think he wants to just have all of this racetrack to himself. Doesn't want to see anybody else on the track map anywhere near him. Just needs to get a clean lap in. Mr. Rem in the pits, still no lap time from him. If things remained the same, he would start right from the rear of the field. If you watch the race this afternoon, you'll see that it can be quite difficult to come through the field as soon as you get stuck in a DRS train. Very fast circuit, very high speeds. Get yourself stuck in that DRS train, sometimes it's quite difficult to come out the other side. Drivers are going to have to rely on possible pit stops, possible safety cars rather, and of course pit windows. Use the undercut effectively to make overtakes. That's a Mercedes going very wide. The Mercedes currently P9 and 10. If they want to emulate today's result, they're going to have to get themselves up the field. Of course, Mercedes finishing 1-2. Earlier this afternoon against all odds, and George Russell, well, he showed just how far those tyres could go. Did not expect a George Russell victory today, but a fantastic drive. Now we've got a lot of cars on out laps, preparation laps, getting ready to have another run. Of course, everyone gets just the 18 minutes, just the one qualifying session. Go out, set your best lap time, sets the field for the race that follows. It feels like I say it in all of the streams, but this one in particular, really one of the only tracks I can think of that has a hairpin into turn one. Guys are going to have to be very careful into turn one, especially if you're in that midfield. If you're at the back, you can sort of follow at a safe distance and watch if there's any action ahead of you. If you're in the front, well, you don't need to worry about the action behind you. But if you're in that midfield, things can get pretty messy. Cars ahead, cars side by side, you don't know where to put the car. You avoid contact with the one, only making contact with the other. The two drivers on the front row currently in the pits, that is Levy and Convoy, separated by just over 1/10. Then we've got the two Ferraris on the second row, Virus and Haas Cartoon. Then Stoffel and it's Ferrari. Boinkies in the top McLaren. I think he doesn't have a teammate tonight, so the only McLaren. Then we have Skull P8, Pantry Star P9, Top Gun, making up the top 10. We have Spikes in the top, Red Bull P11, then Divan, Andre, Smurf, Chums, Ulrich, and then Mr. M still struggling, looking for that first lap time. Or he's going to surprise us all. Leave it as late as possible, go to the top of the tables, who knows, this is a very close field. Look at those times. How many drivers do we have there in the 44s? Just insanely close, this midfield. Just the 3 drivers to break into the 43s. Then the next 10 are all in the 44s. Of course, when you see lap times this close, you think to yourself, if this translates to race pace, we're going to have a very close race. Pantry Star goes over the line and splits those two. Pantry Star now up into P2. Well, the camera didn't want to leave the Williams there, but eventually there's Pantry Star. Put the car up into P2. Those two on the front row were separated by just a 10th, but somehow he's managed to get the car in between. Actually beat Convoy just by 1/100th of a second into P2. There's absolutely nothing in it. Keep on talking about how close the midfield is. Look how close it is up front. 42-1 to Levy. Sorry, that's a 43-3. Then a 43-4, 43-4, 43-6, 43-7. Awfully close lap times at the front, and then a whole bunch of 44s in the midfield. Chums now at the rear of the field in P17. That means Mr. M eventually got a lap time down. There he is in P7. It's a 1:44.1. It's a good first run. Should now 4.5 minutes remaining. Should have enough time to get himself back into the pits, get himself back out there, have one more run. The drivers that are currently out on track, this might be their final run. Of course, we do a 50% distance race, which means we'll be doing 22 laps of the Spa-Francorchamps circuit later on this evening. Longest circuit on the calendar, least amount of laps. Of course, doesn't mean the race is any longer or any shorter. Distance is worked out. Distance needs to be the same in every single Grand Prix. For a 50% distance race, that's about 150 kilometers. And depending on what circuit you're at, you do those laps accordingly. Monaco up to 39 laps in a 50% race, and then this one here, just 22. We're riding currently with one of the Ferrari drivers. This is Porsche Cartoon, just behind his teammate at the moment, 3/10 behind his teammate. So he'd like to get closer to Virus, maybe even get ahead of Virus. This will be his final run. Just over 2.5 minutes remaining. Two drivers at the front of the field remain in the pits. That's Levy and Pantry Star. Both of them parked in the pits. No movement from them just yet. They can't leave this too late. Don't want to leave it too late. It takes a while to get around here, and if you run into any traffic along the way, it's going to take you even longer to get around here. It's awesome to leave it late, get the spectacular last lap right at the end, excite the commentator, but sometimes it's not worth the risk. You want to get out there, set the lap. You leave it all for the end. A mistake is also always a possibility, especially these guys. They race on the absolute edge. Mistake is never far away. All you need to do is get a little greedy on the throttle of an exit of a corner and the car's going to spit you out. All of these drivers will be well aware of that, and they'll be ultra focused. Pantry Star, man in P2, has left the pits with 1.5 minutes remaining. Levy's definitely not going to have any time left, so he's going to remain in the pits. Happy with that lap time, he's not going to try and defend it. But there's three drivers behind him that are going to try and get that lap time. Pantry Star 43.4, Convoy 43.4, and then it's Ferrari 43.6. All of those drivers out on track. Virus as well out on track, 43.7. While Levy is sitting in the pits, that pole position is not safe with just under a minute to go. This is Convoy. Man currently in P3. Levy retires from the session because he knows he can't take any further part. It's Ferrari, also on a final run. Convoy on a final run. Pantry Star gets over the line to start his final attempt with just 30 seconds remaining on the clock. That's about as late as you want to leave it. This is back with its Ferrari in the RB, currently P5. Convoy. And then Pantry Star. There is Pantry Star on the circuit. He's in Sector 1. Divan also now sets a 43.4. P2, P3, P4, all within a 10. And Virus. Last minute stuff. Virus steals pole position away from Levy, but things can still get worse for Levy. Pantry Star still needs to finish his lap. Convoy still needs to finish his lap. It's Ferrari needs to finish his lap. All of these are extremely quick drivers. Further back in the field, of course no eliminations, just the one quali session. Convoy goes quickest. Convoy goes quickest. And it's the first time this evening, and maybe the only time this evening, we've seen a 42. Very impressive lap time, leaving it till last. This is Divan. Trying to see, is that battery discharging? Doesn't seem to be the case. I don't think he's on a quick lap. Let's go to Pantry Star. You can see the fuel flashing there in the bottom of the screen. He's got this car as light as he can. Gonna go over the line. He does improve. Goes up onto the second row. P4, 143.4. Is there anyone else out on track that can still improve? We've got Divan on track, but that battery doesn't appear to be discharging, so I wouldn't be surprised if he peels up into the pits. He does. And I think that we can confirm is the end of qualifying. Of course, qualifying is all fun and games. Just sets up the grid order, sets up who's going to start where. But it all comes down to the race. The race is the most important part of the evening. You don't get any points for qualifying, whether you're the fastest man or the slowest man. It really makes no difference. It's all about the race. The winner takes home 25 points. You need to stay within that top 10 in order to get points. And of course, if you get the fastest lap and you're within the top 10, you get a bonus point. There are your official results for qualifying for the Belgian round here at SKR Season 8. Convoy, top of the front row, pole position. He's going to be joined by Virus. Then, I've got to get through this quickly. It's Ferrari P3, followed by Panfistar, Levy, Divan, Spikes, Andre, Mr. M, Ulrich, Boinkies, Stoffel, Fast Cartoon, Stoll. I've run out of names and I'm almost out of time. Smurf, Top Gun, and Chums. I'd say that was pretty well timed. Now we're back to looking at an empty pit lane. Of course, all the drivers are to the left. You can just about see them there on the left-hand side of your screen. All the cars are lined up in the order they qualified. Drivers will now be doing final touch-ups to their setup. Things like what tire are they going to start on? How deep do they want to go into the race? Do they await safety cars? Do they underfuel in anticipation for those safety cars? Lots of decisions need to be made and there's not a lot of time to make them. If you're in the comment section, let me know which driver you're supporting here today. Let me know your predictions for a race win. Of course, 17 drivers into turn 1. So it's going to be exciting. We get the dual green lights. That means we're off for the formation lap. Of course, this is just the lap before the race that allows everybody to get some heat into their tires, generate some heat into the brakes, get the tire, get the car a little bit more ready for turn 1. This can be a circuit where the leader here in the formation lap can sometimes get caught out. It's a very long circuit, and if the car at the rear of the field really drifts off, the leader arrives at his box way too early, sits there for far too long, and his tires just lose all temperature. That's not what you want into turn 1, especially here in Belgium. Very slow right-hander for turn 1. Of course, the circuit is very well known for its Eau Rouge Radion combination there in Sector 1. One of the most iconic corners in Formula 1. You head up a steep hill, you can't even see the curbs, you just know they're there and you've got to commit. And in these modern Formula 1 cars, most of the time you're doing that full throttle. A few years ago that would have been impossible. But with the downforce that these cars offer today, a Rouge on full throttle is a much more common occurrence. Of course, now we line up one final time. This will be now for the race start. Last time we saw the two dual green lights, this time we're going to see the red lights. They're going to go on one by one, and when we get to 5 there's going to be a pause. They're going to go out, and then we're going to be on our way. You can see some of the cars there at the back still just lining up. This is what I mean. Drivers on the front row, they just sit there for what feels like an age, and they'll want to get on with it. You can see convoys park the position in a aggressive manner, pointing towards the Ferrari, anticipating he's going to have to defend into turn 1. There are the red lights, 4 of them, 5 of them. And we're underway. It's going to be Alpine versus Ferrari into turn 1. This time we get a good camera angle of the start. What's going to happen into turn 1? Looks like the Ferrari gets the better of the Alpine around the outside, and for the time being Spikes leads the way. We look towards the rear of the field. We saw a bit of smoke, but no carbon fiber is evident. Seems like everybody did get through turn 1, hopefully without any damage. Of course, that will become evident at the end of lap 1 if you see any cars dive into the pits. Now the Alpine retakes the lead of the race. Lead was stolen from him. Coming out of turn 1, he takes the lead right back. Leads the race now by 0.4 of a second. Big lockup from Convoy. If the race tonight mirrors real life, then tyre management could be essential to this race. Quickly have a look at who's on what tyre. It's a pretty even mix in the field between softs and mediums. The leader, on the other hand, well, he's in a different league. He's on the hard tyre. That should be the slowest tyre at this point in the race, the most difficult tyre to get temperature into. He's doing a fantastic job for now. Soft runners doing everything they can to hold on to the Alpine. Of course, those softs will be the first tyres to go off. They are the quickest tyre for now, but they are the tyre with the least amount of life, so you need to get on with it. You need to make the most of that tyre while it's fresh. Make the overtakes now. As that tyre starts to fall off, the track is just going to come to Convoy, because those hards can run much further into this race. 22 laps. It's a real marathon around Spa. Real high-speed circuit. A lot of the guys will be running very low downforce. Very easy to make a mistake when you're running very low downforce. Car feels a bit twitchy, car feels a little nervous. If you're not in full control, it usually ends badly. Now Virus has lost another position. He's gone down to P3. It's Ferrari in P2. He's going to have a go at Convoy. You'll know Convoy's just ahead of him on a set of hards. You'll see that compound of tyre. You won't be able to see their age, but we can see their age. The drivers cannot, but they can see what compound they're on. So we'll be thinking, I need to get past Convoy, I need to build a gap. But at the moment he's doing just enough to stay with Convoy, and he's got enough pressure in the mirrors to not just be able to concentrate on the driver ahead. He needs to pay attention to what's happening behind him. Virus will be keen to take that P2 back. Meanwhile, up the road, it's Ferrari lining up a pass. Slipped into P2 for now. He's definitely got the pace. We saw them almost going side by side. Then he just backed out of it, thought better of it. He knows he's got better places on the circuit where he can make that overtake. A lot safer. Without all the risk. Really don't want to try and pull a move into the bus stop unless you're desperate and it's your final attempt. Now we watch them down a Rouge and up Radion. One of the best corners in Formula 1. Now the RB will open up DRS. You can see the slit in the rear wing, and there was no challenge. Nothing Convoy could have done. Wonder if his battery was flat on that occasion, but just no defense from Convoy. Just simply accepted it, let its Ferrari go by. I think Convoy knows he's on the hard tyre. It's on a very different strategy. If he can stay within DRS, the RB will simply tow him around. A few tenths he's losing per lap because of the hard will be neutralized because of the bonus he gets under DRS. So he can just stay as close to that RB as he can. When those softs do fall off, which they will do in not too long from now. That hard runner, the only hard runner on the track. Track's going to come right to him. Track's going to go away from the soft runners. This is the time where they should be making up the most advantage. Convoy just sitting behind the RB for now. I don't think he's happily going to sit behind the RB. It looks like he's attacking the RB. He gets really, really close. Just 0.3 of a second as they get on the main straight. This is not where you're going to make the overtake. Maybe into turn 1. He's not close enough. Now up Eau Rouge. Or the down Eau Rouge and up Radion. Just want to stay as close as you can. Because once you get to the top, there's a right-hander and then a DRS zone, and a very long, powerful DRS zone it is. And that's why the Alpine is able to get past even before he opens up DRS. Such a long straight. That's how close he got. Up Radion. Of course, the little DRS line that basically activates DRS. When they went through there, Convoy was the man at the back. Then Convoy made the overtake and got DRS anyway, which just helped him get a little boost over its Ferrari, open the gap a little bit, 0.6 of a second. Still not much of a gap to speak of. Further down, Levy in P3, Pantry Star P4. We've got Virus P5, Divan P6, Mr. Rem having a better race than he had a qualifying session. He's in P7. Andre P8 in the first of the two Aston Martins. Then Top Gun and Boinkies making up points paying positions. No points so far for Smurf, Skull, Harshcroft 2 and Ulrich, the pair of Williams, Chums and Stoffel, and the Red Bull of Spikes that makes up the field. Seems like evidence there that Spikes has made a pit stop. He's 21 seconds adrift from the rest of the field on a brand new set of hards. That tells me something went wrong in his race, maybe some damage, something that forced him to come into the pits. Wouldn't want to come into the pits on lap 4 if that wasn't the case. Convoy out front on that set of hards. And we've got its Ferrari. I wonder how those soft tyres are feeling, because Levy on the medium, he's now in P3, but don't think he's going to be there for much longer. Pantry Star, before they get to the chicane, gets past comfortably. And our top 3 now are Alpine, RB, Mercedes. Big lockup from Convoy. There's definitely pressure being applied. First penalty of the evening goes to Ulrich. It's a 3-second penalty. That is obviously for track infringements. Going over the white lines one too many times, using more tarmac than the racetrack provides. Of course, you get 3 warnings for doing that. After the 3rd warning, put a black and white flag. That's a 3-second penalty. And as we're talking about penalties, Mr. Rem, our first casualty. Mr. M becomes the first casualty of the evening, first retirement of the evening. We don't see the stricken car, it's already disappeared unfortunately, so we're not going to know what happened to the Red Bull. But Mr. M has retired from the race, lap 5. This is going to change everybody's strategy. Convoy dives into the pits, it's Ferrari dives into the pits. I'm sure the rest of the field will respond, jump in, get rid of these tyres. Every time there's a safety car, you can basically throw your strategy out of the window. It no longer applies. If everyone else is making pit stops, you simply need to respond. At the front, Levy, Divan, Convoy. Remember, whenever a safety car comes out, it can be a big benefit for you in your race. make up a whole bunch of positions, find yourself in a position you didn't think you'd be in just a few minutes ago. But a safety car can also work out negatively for you. It all depends where you are on circuit, when that safety car gets triggered. If you look at the field, everybody in the field has made a pit stop with the exception of P1 and P2. They're on aging mediums, and while they're in a very strong position right now, really don't know how long they'll be able to hold on to P1 and 2, and when they do pit, because the safety car has compressed the field, they're going to be coming out right at the rear of the field. Of course, now we get a few slow laps behind the safety car. The drivers can just take a breath, collect their thoughts, think what's the next stint of the race going to look like, what's the plan. They're expecting another safety car. Guys at the front will be hoping for no more safety cars. They just want to go to the end, rely on all-out pace, rely on their strategy. For the guys at the back, they'll love every single time a safety car comes out, because it just gives them one more opportunity to roll the dice. Sometimes you lose, sometimes you win big. From the looks of the track map, the entire field is together. Safety car could potentially come in this lap. It might just have one more lap. It would be a very late confirmation of safety car in. Looks like safety car is definitely staying out for at least one more lap, so another 7 kilometers behind the safety car. Almost 2 laps in Austria. Also important time for the leaders when you're just driving behind the safety car. This is not F1 at its finest. These drivers will be used to pushing, looking for every piece of tarmac, every piece of curb that they're allowed to use. Now all of a sudden you're driving around slowly, just trying to make sure you don't run into the other drivers, trying to keep heat in your tires. And sometimes you can just lull off, start to daydream behind the safety car, start to think about work tomorrow. And sometimes all it takes is a momentary lapse in concentration. It's going to be enough to turn your race on its head. At the restart, it's going to be Levy from Diver and Convoy P3, and it's Ferrari. But remember, your 2 leaders, they are not in a favorable position. Everyone out in the field made a pit stop under that safety car, so that means the entire field has fresh tires, with the exception of P1 and 2. Don't think we're going to see a huge drop in their performance just yet. Those mediums still relatively new, just 6 laps on them. But everyone else behind them will have an advantage when those mediums inevitably begin to fall off. Of course, another thing a safety car does, it means everybody's riding around very slowly for a couple of laps. It means you don't use up your tires at the same rate. So a tire that may have gone 10 laps might go 11 or 12. You can just extend that run a little bit. So you're not leaning on the tires, you're not using the tires. You're going to wear out F1 tires driving around at 200 kilometers an hour. They are designed to be going much faster than that. And most of the equipment on these cars, the tires, the brakes, the wings, they only really come alive at speed. Safety car does disappear into the pits, and we get our restart. Levy from Divan from Convoy into turn 1. No illustrious moves into turn 1, everybody just holding station for now. It didn't look like Levy got the perfect run out of the corner he would have wanted. It was a big lock up. Divan P2 as he follows up Radion. He's not going to get DRS immediately, he's going to have to wait one more lap for that. It's Ferrari P4, Country Star P5, Iris P6, Andre P7, Boinkies P8, Top Gun P9, and Smurf making up the top 10. Of course, coming to the NFR channel on Tuesday night. Be a 3-round event, league versus league, 5 South African leagues going up against each other. Each league will put 4 drivers forward to represent them. 4 drivers from 5 leagues, giving you a full grid of 20 drivers for 3 consecutive Tuesday nights. And of course, the leagues competing. This one here, SKR, as well as SAFRL, DRS, JPR, and LSA. We have our second retirement. It's Ulrich in the Sauber, and it's triggered our second safety car of the evening. So unfortunately for the drivers, we've got a safety car. They just got going again, just started to get back in the feel of things, back into their rhythm. Safety car comes out, breaks the rhythm again, and this is what I say about losing concentration. So easy under these conditions. If you're at a short racetrack like Austria, Monaco or Brazil, 3 laps behind the safety car goes by pretty quickly. 3 laps behind the safety car here in Belgium takes an awfully long time. Surprisingly, Levy and Divan, they decided to stay out yet again. So they will still not pit. I think at this point, both of those cars will be thinking one stop. And of course, with this amount of safety cars, that is now possible. It's going to extend the life of those mediums. Jump in, get a set of hards, finish the race that way. The problem is these safety cars keep the field together. The field hasn't been able to spread out. So if you pit now, pit stop will cost you between 20 and 24 seconds. And if you look at the timing sheet on the left hand side of your screen, you know that that will mean if you pit from the lead right now, you're going to come out at the rear. And around a high-speed Belgium circuit with lots of DRS zones, it's not that easy to come through the field if the field is close together. DRS trains can be quite challenging to break out of. While we're under safety car, I'm just going to take a minute. I'm going to leave you riding on board with Levy. I'll be back in just a minute. That may have been a little longer than a minute. Sorry for the silence, but we are back. You didn't miss anything. We're under the second safety car of the evening, lap 10 of 22. But had our first safety car, and I think before DRS could be activated, we got our second safety car. It's difficult for these drivers that were intending to go deep into the race. The whole point of going deep into the race is to get in front and build some sort of a gap for when you eventually need to pit. But for Levy and Divan, who are going deep into the race, when they do pit, they're going to find themselves in a very unfavorable position because the field is so close together. Everyone in the field now either on a set of mediums or hards. Nobody risking a set of softs. Doesn't seem like they get very far on this track. Of course, if we get another safety car towards the end, you can see an entire field of softs. Decent audience here tonight. Of course, the channel for some reason gets a lot more views after the live event. It's most of the views in the week that follows. I suppose it's when everyone is supposed to be at work. That's when we get our views. Of course, if you're new to the channel, if this is your first visit, we usually do this 4 times a week. SAFRL Tier 1 on a Monday, Tier 2 on a Wednesday, then we move over to DRS on a Thursday night. And of course, what we're doing here on a Sunday, it's SKR at 6 PM. Of course, for the next 3 weeks, my night off Tuesday is going to be taken up by the new League V League event that is coming. Remember to subscribe and hit the notifications so that when we do go live with those races, you'll know all about it. Safety car now flashing. You can see Levy's let the safety car get away into the distance. They can enter the pits. And now Levy takes control of the start of the race. He decides when to go. There can be no overtaking till the start-finish line. When does he go? Leaves it as late as possible. Wonder if Divan's going to have a good run here. Gets awfully close to the horse. There's not too much you can do just yet. Ran a bit wide there. Used too much of the outside curve, and that's allowed Convoy to come right back at Divan. He got a really good start initially. Just didn't get a good exit out of the hairpin. That has released Convoy back up into P2. Remember, Divan 10 lap bulb mediums, Convoy 5 lap bulb mediums. He's going to have the advantage at this stage. Levy, the man ahead. Look at the gap behind. He's got cars literally swarming left and right. Got the clean air in front of you. It'll make you feel comfortable, but every time you look at your mirrors, you're going to see that. He's not going to be seeing it in his mirrors for much longer. He now sees it right in front of him. All of a sudden now he's looking at the rear wing of the Alpine. The Alpine gets it done. Convoy gets it done. And from pole position in the race, he's now leading. Yet again after the second safety car. Levy P2, Divan P3. Those two have now both lost the position in the lap following the safety car. It's Ferrari P4. In the RB, sponsored by Visa, another credit card company coming into F1, will be with McLaren. McLaren getting a new title sponsor, MasterCard. I'm not sure I'm going to be calling it MasterCard McLaren Mercedes. I think we'll just stick with McLaren. If I'm going to use the team's full name, then I need to use all the team full names, and I'm still not going to ever call this the Scuderia Ferrari HP. Lap 12 of 22, 10 to go. Huge lockups in the field. I think that was Divan locking up. Or it was Virus, the car just ahead of him. Divan had to drive through that smoke. Of course, it does appear worse on the stream when you're in the cockpit. That smoke isn't as intense. The way it looks here in the spectator mode, it looks like you wouldn't be able to see through it. But it is not as bad as that. The gaps at the front have spread out pretty evenly now. Convoy's got a 2-second gap down to Levy, and then Levy has a gap himself of 1.5 seconds down to Pantry Star. So the podium position's pretty spread out. Very quickly after the restart, but they'll still be a lot closer together for now. But nothing is far apart in the midfield. Pantry Star P3, and he's defending from the likes of Ferree, Virus, Tyvan, Boinkies, Andre, Top Gun, Smurf, Bosch Cartoon, Spikes, Skull, all of those cars down to P13, all in one continuously long DRS train. Remember what happens when we've got awfully long DRS trains. If one of those drivers towards the front of the train makes a mistake, it can cause a domino effect. And if you're at the rear of that DRS train, you might find yourself making up 3 or 4 positions in a lap. This man's out front, 3 seconds is the gap. Seems easy. There's nothing easy, even if you're at the front. You've got to keep the concentration, you've got to keep pushing. You know the rest of the field's going to be pushing. You also need to have the peace of mind to stay within those white lines, don't pick up any unnecessary penalties. I've seen drivers lose races just based on penalties. Looking for that extra 10th. Go a little bit too far over the line, instead of finding a 1/10 of a second, you lose 3 seconds. Just think how well you have to drive to make up 3 seconds in the race, and how easy it is to get one of those penalties. Convoy leads, 4.7 seconds is the gap. We can no longer see the leader, he's disappeared into the distance. Levy doing a good job on those 12 lap bold mediums. I thought he dropped further down the field, but he's actually done a great job to hold on to P2. Lost the position to Convoy early on. He's been out front ever since then. It's Ferree, good podium spot. Be hoping for the race to end right now, and goodness me, we get a caution and all of a sudden Levy goes down the field. I got a big fright, but Levy is not going down the field because of a retirement. This is just his pit stop. It just happened to be at the same time as a yellow flag. And I was like, well, if we're going to get another retirement, we don't want a retirement at the front. That's not how we want to determine our race wins. We want it to be all on pace. We know sometimes, seen it in the past, someone out front, comfortable, looks like the race is all sewn up, and a mistake comes out of nowhere. Convoy has made a mistake. That is how it's Ferree got back into the lead. Doesn't appear to have any damage on that car, so he should be able to get right back on the attack. Try reclaim those positions. Because you'll see something interesting there next to it's Ferree's name. It's Ferree, 8 laps on the hards. Of course, he won't know how old those hards are, but he'll know he's on hards. Convoy's mediums will fall off before those hards, so by the time we get to the end of the race, it should be advantage RB. But Convoy needs to make an overtake now and rebuild that gap. Was doing so well, had the gap up to over 3 seconds. Then we didn't see the mistake. We saw the car go all the way down to P4, so we didn't see the mistake, but the evidence of the mistake was there. It's already corrected some of the harm done. It's made up another position, gone up into P2. In fact, he's made up 2 positions, gone up back into P2. This time round, different leader. Now he gets the challenge. It's Ferree. Head down Eau Rouge and up Radion. If you didn't know, the very bottom of that corner used to once be the border between Belgium and Russia. Of course, it was then changed, and the entire area is now Belgium, and in order to celebrate, they built this race circuit. Convoy leads from its free Virus P3. Spa, this circuit here, one of the very few circuits on the F1 calendar to be on the original F1 calendar all the way back in 1950, alongside tracks like Silverstone and Monaco, tracks that have been part of F1 as long as F1 has been a thing. Of course, this is a revised Spa-Francorchamps. This is not the track they were racing in the 50s and 60s. That was a very different race circuit. Had pretty much the same start-finish line. Much longer circuit, I'd say even faster circuit, far more dangerous circuit. Convoy gets the car sideways into the hip, and that's going to allow its free to come right back at him. Remember, just wants to stay as close as he can to that diffuser. He's not going to try and make the overtake up ready on, it's too risky. Stay behind the Alpine as close as you can. He's not going to be able to make it before the corner, but he's going to get DRS now, and Convoy will be defenseless. It's for retakes the lead of the race, goes a little wide, almost looked like Convoy was going to come back at him immediately. This is very close racing between the two, side by side yet again. This time Convoy gets the inside, a bit of a lock-up, but he's able to get it stopped, holds on to the lead. It's free down into P2, and now it's time to do it all over again. He's going to try and get as close as he can to that Alpine and just press repeat. Virus now in P3, Pantry Star P4, while these two at the front have traded positions, gone wheel to wheel. It's allowed the Ferrari to stay right with them. Ferrari hasn't been the one making the overtakes and looking to take the lead, but now in a very, very strong position as these two at the front continue to swap places. It's Ferrari leads the way from Convoy. We'll ride on board with Convoy. See what I mean now. Not going to go for the overtake into turn one. It's not worth it. Just want to get as close as you can. You open up DRS. Brake as late as you can. Then try and stay with that car as you accelerate out of the corner. You want the gap to be around about 3 or 4 tenths. That means you're going to be close enough. Anything over 6 tenths, and usually it's a little stretch too far. You get as close as you can. There you see the DRS notification. You open it up, and it's as easy as can be. Looks like you've just switched on your turbo, and Convoy flies past before he gets to the corner. And now again, I say it again, we press repeat. This time it's Ferrari will just stay as close as he can, and then he'll open up DRS. So this race could come down to who's got DRS on the final lap. Virus in P3, he's got the best seat in the house, getting to see all the action out in front of him, and secretly, in the back of his mind, he'll be hoping they make contact. That means he will be promoted into the lead of this race. Pantry Star in P4, Andre P5. We had so much action at the front of the field, we haven't given too much attention to the guys in the middle of the field. Pointies P6, Spikes P7. We've got Top Gun, Skull and Harsh Cartoon making up the points, so both Aston Martins in the points, Skull and Andre. Then we've got Smurf P11, Chums P12, Lebby 13. So as things stand, we don't have a Haas in the points. Divan P14 and Stoffel making up the field. Of course, 2 retirements from Ulrich and Mr. Rem, so we've lost the Sauber and we've lost the Red Bull. And now we've got a caution flashing on our screens. Is that a stationary Williams? It was a stationary Williams. It was Stoffel, but he's back underway. And at least for now, we don't need to worry about a safety car. Of course, on Thursday night, if you were watching that race, we got something we don't see very often. In fact, I've never seen it. We got a safety car with just 3 laps to go in the race, giving us a 1-lap sprint at the end. Drivers will want none of that. Stu will just want to get to the end. It's Ferrari versus Convoy. Remember, 2 different sets of tyres. It's Ferrari on the hard compound, Convoy on the medium compound. Those mediums should be going off first. When they do, it will become very obvious, because these two have been able to match each other in pace. The moment its Ferrari starts to pull away, then that would definitely be the tyres coming into play. But for the time being, those mediums aren't going anywhere. Convoy comfortably holding on to the back of the Red Bull. Virus doing just enough to stay with the leaders, but he hasn't been able to get close enough to challenge the leaders. We ride on board now with Andre, the top Aston Martin, currently in P5, chasing down Padristar, the gap 1.4 seconds, 6 laps to go. Car ahead of him on exactly the same compounded tyre, exactly the same age, so he's not going to be able to rely on tyres going off. It's going to have to be all about pace. 1.4 seconds remains that gap, so staying stable. The moment he can bring that gap below 1 second, things will get so much easier. He's going to get DRS, he's going to get towed around, and then it's really just about staying as close to Padristar as possible and waiting for the inevitable to happen. But for the time being, he's just on the wrong side of that DRS barrier, which means he's not getting the extra assistance. And staying with Padristar is a little bit more difficult. We're back with the man in P2, Convoy. Awfully close race we've had at the front. These two have traded positions time and time again. Virus in P3 actually just starting to lose contact with the top 2. Convoy lining him up. Surely not at this part of the race circuit. Really the biggest chances for a move. Turn 1, the bus stop. And obviously into the chicane after the long DRS zone. Other than that, a lot of high speed corners. A lot of straights. The cars all being on equal, not just going to be able to rely on some crazy pace down the straight. Everybody's got exactly the same tools available to them. I imagine if we had to set these cars on actual F1 stats, we'd have a big problem trying to fill this grid. Because who are you going to get to drive the Sauber and the Williams and the Haas? They're not going to be very interested in entering the championship. Of course, so all cars are set to equal. Everybody has exactly the same tools at their disposal. Nobody has a power disadvantage or anything like that. It's Ferrari leads from Convoy. For how much longer? We've seen it time and time again. Nothing you can do. Gets so close, but not this time. It's Ferrari from Convoy. Padristar P3. He's actually gotten past Virus, so Virus starting to go backwards now. I wonder if those medium tyres, 14 laps on the medium tyres, if he's starting to feel it somewhat. Of course, everyone around him with the same age of tyres, but he does have some drivers behind him with hards. Means the track will be coming to those drivers now in the closing stages. Still 2 laps to go, so if your tyres are starting to feel very uncomfortable and very nervous and slippery right now, well, you've got another 14 kilometers to go and they're not going to feel very great on that final lap. something that's caught out a lot of drivers on the new game on F124. The tires tend to wear out very unequally. So sometimes you find yourself in a situation where you have 3 tires that will easily go to the end of the race, but you have 1 tire that's just nagging you. Pantry Star gets the car sideways into the bus stop. He's lost a whole bunch of positions, goes down into P5, and Virus didn't look like he had the pace to stay with Pantry Star. He'll be breathing a sigh of relief as he retakes his podium position. Importantly for everyone in the top 12, no penalties. So as things stand, the race will not be decided by penalties, the podium will not be decided by penalties. The race you see on track is the race we're actually getting. So many times we see a race on track, but the timing sheets say something very different. This time round it's not going to come down to penalties, it's going to come down to who's at the front at the end. Divan picks up another penalty. He was one of the drivers that already had a penalty. So 3 drivers with penalties, all 3 of them at the rear of the field, 13, 14 and 15. Those penalties won't make too much difference to them. They're not going to be losing any points paying positions. No real difference if you're 14 or 15, so they won't be too worried about that. The guys at the front will be happy that they don't have any. Ferrari leads from Convoy, gap just 0.4 of a second. I keep on looking for evidence that those mediums are falling off, but I don't see it. It's Convoy just holding on. Of course, the advantage of DRS, if your tyres are starting to go off, if you're starting to have a deficit of 2 or 3 tenths a second to the car ahead, so long as you stay within that DRS train, you can neutralize the gap from the tyres. Lap 21 of 22, leader goes over the line to start the final lap of the race. Just 7 kilometers to go. It's 7 kilometers that will be done in less than 2 minutes. Of course, one of the circuits with the highest average speed, and it's because of this. Look at the straights. Convoy, he's left it so late. He's got past its Ferrari. I said this race could come down to who has DRS on the final lap. Convoy had DRS on the final lap. He makes the overtake, but now he's got to keep his head. He's got to keep calm. Any sort of lockup, any sort of mistake is going to hand this race right back to its Ferrari. If he can just keep the car online, keep it in the middle of the track, going to be very difficult for Ferrari to find an overtake, and he's actually fallen adrift almost 7 tenths. His final opportunity would probably be into the bus stop, would take a very brave lunge, but 7 tenths is going to be simply a step too far. He is going to have that one last lunge. He's going to have to close this gap up to between 3 and 4 tenths. At the moment, 7 tenths. Just a little too far. Andre, he's in P4, coming under heavy pressure from Pantry Star, who wants that position. See, Pantry Star was running in P3 before he made a mistake, lost a bunch of positions. Now he's trying to reclaim them, and it's Ferrari gets over the line in P1. Convoy showing 3 seconds adrift. I think Convoy must have picked up a penalty at the end. So it's Ferrari, Convoy and Virus. We're going to wait for the official results, let all the penalties get worked out by the game, because my mathematics is terrible, and let's get those official results. Obviously the top 3 drivers, driver of the day, you're invited to the NFR cool down room on the Discord server. We'll bring you into the comms box and we can have a short chat about your race, about your experiences in the race. I think we're just waiting for Stoffel. Everybody has taken the checkered flag. And now Stoffel The final driver over the line in P15. Apologies for the game sound going off. That is for YouTube copyright reasons, unfortunately. F1 won't even let you use their song. Skull gets driver of the day for the Aston Martin team. Good drive from Skull. Short look at the podium, and there are your results. It's Farid takes the victory from third on the grid, so good drive for him. Then Conboy started on pole, put it in P2. Then we've got Virus in third place. Andre top performing Aston Martin just off the podium. Then we've got Pantry Star P5, Spikes P6, Boinkies P7, Top Gun P8, Skull P9, also your driver of the day. And then we've got Harsh Cartoon making up the final point. No points on the night for Levy. P11 was looking at a potential race victory at a stage. Safety car just didn't go his way. Then Smurf P12, so both Haas outside the points. Chums 15, Divan 14, then Stoffel 15, Ulrich 16. So no points for the Salbers, no points for the Williams, and no points for the Haas team. Of course, now we're just going to give it a minute or two, see if anybody does enter the cool down room, then we can bring them into the comms box. I think there are a few of them there already. They're just waiting for me. I'm the one that's not in the comms box. There we go. Now I'm in the comms box. So let's see who we've got here. We've got Conboy, we've got Skull, we've got Virus. So I think we're just waiting for one other driver. We're going to start bringing the drivers into the comms box one by one. We've got Conboy, we've got Virus, we've got Skull. I think there should be a fourth driver joining. If he does join, we'll bring him in when he gets here. He's going to find an empty cooldown room. We'll start with Virus. No podium tonight, but you did get driver of the day. Tell us a little bit about your race, from where you started to where you ended up, and how did the safety cars work out? Were they bad for you or were they good for you?
Carl, you up?
Hello? Okay.
Yeah, you up?
Yeah,
You up?
the safety cars were very helpful. The decision to go to mediums helped me a lot. They were way faster than the hards.
Obviously, two safety cars, and you were able to bring driver of the day. You got points. What was that? P9.
Yeah, P9 and P8.
So double points for the Aston Martin team. Did you guys see? No points for Sauber, no points for Haas, no points for Williams. So good points for anyone who got double points. Then let's see. We'll go to Virus. Virus, you finished in P3. You got the best seat in the house for a very long time. You got to see those guys go side by side time again. I'm sure somewhere in the back of your mind you're just hoping for a collision.
Yeah, so I actually just in the call room I spoke to Conbo about his overtake there in the hip and on Fury. Yeah, no, it was good, eh? I have to say, clean driving. I don't think they've ever made that. They didn't even touch. Good clean driving. Was enjoyable there from the back of those two, eh? Really enjoyable.
Who's the one that didn't come in? It's Farid is the one we're missing. So Conboy, tell me about that race. What have one question I have for you specifically is you built up a 3-second gap.
Yes.
And then you were in P4, if I'm not mistaken. So what went wrong there?
Believe it or not, it was a sneeze that cost me my race. Into the bus stop chicane, I sneezed, eyes are closed. I opened it and I'm facing the wall on the left-hand side.
I don't think I've ever heard that.
Yeah.
he sneezed into like one of the slowest chicanes in F1. That's under braking. That's not a good idea.
Yes.
But obviously, you were able to come back. You were able to challenge it through. It looked like victory at a stage, and you just weren't able to open up that gap again. Just it's where he stayed
I
with you.
think the hard work really coming into it at the end of that stint. That's why I tried to keep ahead of him in sector 2 most of the time, so that he couldn't pull a second of a gap on me. But in the end, just unlucky with that penalty into Eau Rouge. So yeah, just unlucky.
Was I correct in saying you got a penalty on the last lap?
Yes, yes.
Okay, because I didn't actually see I actually didn't see the penalty on the timing sheets until you guys went over the line, and suddenly it said there was a 3 second gap, and I was like, okay, that's not right. So so yeah, penalty right at the end. Where did you get your warnings? Did you get your warnings all together, or were you like well aware that you were on 2 warnings and did it?
I was aware that I was on 2 warnings. The first one was a stupid warning. It was on the back straight coming to the bus stop chicane. The second one was on the exit of turn 1. Also another stupid mistake from my side. And then obviously the last one just putting all 4 tires over the beginning incline.
Guys, I'm just gonna you can stay here and chat for another 5 or 10 minutes. I'm just gonna end the stream on my side. So I want to thank everyone who tuned in. We had quite a few viewers here at a stage. Of course, if it's your first visit to the channel, remember to leave a like, remember to subscribe. We're going to be back next week, and it's going to be a full week. SAFRL, League v League, SAFRL again, DRS. So a full week on the channel, and I hope to see you back for most of those races. So remember to subscribe and hit the notifications bell. Thanks to everyone, and cheers.
Cheers.
And end.